Well, it's official. Halo campaign evolved is real. It's a thing. And the cool thing about it, it's I got a chance to play it. So I'm going to give you guys my honest thoughts and reviews about this reveal and my gameplay experience of playing for it. And I gotta say, like, it feels rather faithful to the original. Obviously, there's some changes, but there also are some significant, noticeable issues with like Unreal 5 that I've played with other games that we definitely need to talk about in this video. But for the uninitiated, right, so we're all on the same page here, that this is basically taking original Combat Evolved, but then remaking it within the Unreal Engine to be able to bring Halo to the masses with a whole new fidelity 25 years later, trying to recreate that magic here in this game. There's some awesome modern mechanics that were brought in from classic Halo games like Halo 2 and Halo 3, and also some more modern style things like sprint being added in the game, but there is a little bit of an asterisk next to it that we're definitely need to dive into with some of the other asterisks with this game. Original voice actors coming back into this, 2-player split screen at launch right here on the couch co-op side of things, 4-player online co-op, which is going to be awesome, which they had to make some tweaks to the Warhog, which is awesome for that experience. Cross play, cross progression, PlayStation 5 release, and also the most wild part about this, which is something I'm actually most excited about, is that we're going to get 3 prequel missions to this with Chief and Sergeant Johnson. So now it's not just straight up just Combat Evolved, play it again 10 years later. We're actually getting some new content to be added into this awesome, lovely coat of paint added to the whole thing. And also some minor tweaks when it comes to the gameplay, when it comes to, like, say, the Flood. So I've actually had some hands-on time to play this. It was a 15-minute demo that we had. I got a chance to play through the entirety that was available for you guys. And I'm definitely going to jump in and play it a few more times during HCS this weekend to give you guys my full thoughts and opinions about this. But I would say that right now, from my personal experience, that this is the Combat Evolved remake. This or should have been the Halo anniversary we got back in 2011, but now coming finally in 2026. And this is going to be basically completely rewriting like CEA, where it's like, it's not even going to be a game worth playing because you'll have this available for you to jump in and experience Combat Evolved. And I feel like Halo Studios, while changing some core aspects of this game to fit a more modern style, still felt very true to the original and didn't drastically change things, like especially with the visuals of this game. Still feel on point, still feel like Halo Combat Evolved. The sounds are relatively still there. Most notably for me, the audio change for the pistol was pretty significant. For example, here's the original sound effect for the CE pistol. Okay, you can hear like that punchiness to it. Now listen to the campaign evolved version. Doesn't it just feel like it just kind of lacks a little bit of a punch to it, right? It just kind of sounds a little weak. Like the CE version felt like it was like a hand cannon, like there was an explosion happening at the end of your gun. But this version of it in Halo Infinite just doesn't really seem to match the same. Like, listen to it again here. Like, you can still hear it. Like, it still sounds good, but it just doesn't really feel like it has that same pungent impact as firing it back in Combat Evolved. I will also say that the music is on point. Felt like the music cues were exact same as we had back in Combat Evolved as well. And the audio of that still sound just as good, right? But the thing I really liked about this experience is that, like, especially with Unreal 5 and the way the lighting works, that the darks are actually dark and the brights are actually bright. This was on full display in like the double hunter battle you get like right before clicking the button on Silent Cartographer here. Like, it actually felt like a dark, gritty or kind of mood to it, where like Combat Evolved definitely wasn't capable of this type of lighting, and CEA never got anywhere close to actually having like true darkness within the game, which is something that I really appreciate. It makes it so that when you see like these pulses of like plasma shots coming at you, they light up the room. The hunter, head and shoulders blood actually kind of paints the floor and glows. Now, I talked about this next part with some other content creators and people who play the demo as well with this, is that like it kind of had like a feeling of like playing Halo 2 Anniversary, but like with a little bit better visual fidelity in a way. I think it's mainly just because like a lot of these visuals that they had for the Silent Cartographer kind of match up a lot with like Delta Halo, similar type of visual presentation. I still kind of had that same kind of vibe as well, where like I was looking at this like, oh, this is what like MCC Halo 2 Anniversary would have looked like in Unreal Engine right now kind of thing. If that kind of makes sense in a way, but I'm not like I'm complaining about it. I just kind of felt the similarities, especially with like a lot of emphasis on the sandiness of it, where like in the actual game of Combat Evolved, you have like these areas of green for grass and then the tan for the sand, where like the sand feels like it's all over this map, which kind of lowers like contrast of visual presentation. Like this could just been one of those like limitations back in 2001 where like it's either sand or grass and that's all you get for textures, where maybe they try to mix up a little bit here. But say, like I mentioned, like some of the areas kind of felt very like bright. The brights felt very bright, but the darks also felt very dark when it came to the lighting. It's hard to really describe it, but like this is kind of like the main thing I experienced while playing the game itself. A great thing they did for this remake as well is they actually brought back the original voice actors of Steve Downes and Jen Taylor for Cortana and Master Chief. And they think that I noticed that there was like notably missing without the entirety of this reveal was that they didn't mention anything about the original voice actor for Johnson. With Sergeant Johnson being referenced as like some of the 3 missions you get as a prequel, like you'd think they'd show clips of Johnson being Johnson. Like that would be an instant W for like a reveal like this that didn't really happen. So I'm really concerned if they're going to try to recreate his voice with AI or something like that. Maybe we just couldn't get him. I don't know. There's a lot of different variables. So let's get down to the nitty gritty, the details that people might have missed and didn't really bring up, but like the gameplay, which is pretty true to the original, but rather significantly changed. I know some people were rather upsetty to hear about sprint being added into the Halo Combat Evolved. I mean, yeah, adding something like a modern mechanic into Halo was like kind of changing the Mona Lisa in a way. But the great thing about it for people who are like, don't want to see sprint, there's Smart Link in the game as well, much like you have in Halo Infinite. But the great thing about that there are skulls where you can utilize to toggle that stuff off. But the big thing is that oftentimes when you're like, oh, you can just not use sprint, you can toggle it off. But when the gameplay, like in the maps are elongated in a way where you have to use sprint in a way, like, much like modern Halo multiplayer, where if you're not using sprint, you're kind of feeling left out. That's not the case with this as well, because even though they did mention about making some of the play spaces a little bit larger, right, for accommodating 4-player co-op, it still felt very true to the original, where I didn't feel like I needed sprint or I needed Smart Link or ADS or any kind of way like that. Like it's not needed in the game right now, but it's something that give you that modern experience, but also not have to worry too much about changing the core gameplay experience of what CE really was. Well, it wasn't just like sprint that was being added into the game. Other really cool core mechanics that were added to this were also like vehicle hijacking, which is now in the game. Chief can hijack vehicles and enemies can hijack videos, which was something I was like caught off guard when I got a chance to play this. I'm like, oh my God, it brought in some Halo 2 modern like mechanics into the game as well. Again, I love also the fact with 4-player co-op, everyone can jump into the Warhawk at the same time. That's amazing. Cool thing also is that they actually also have a toggle for destructive vehicles. It's on by default, but I didn't really notice it too much while playing. But there is a skull where you can toggle it off to have invincible vehicles if you really want to maintain that similar experience you had previously. But a really interesting thing, which I'm kind of curious why they actually changed this, is a 32-round magazine for the assault rifle. Because that was like one of the cool fun things about the assault rifle in Combat Evolved. It's a bullet hose, you just hold right trigger and you're just spraying bullets everywhere. It's amazing. But in this game, you only get 32. Now it's still probably just as effective lethality wise. I wasn't really missing the 60-round mag, but again, it's just kind of one of the fun things you get to do when just blowing stuff up. Also, automatic health regen. No health packs I could find at all while playing this. Personally, it doesn't really bother me too much. I don't really care much about having to use health packs. Yeah, it's more core to the original experience, but I guess it kind of leans more into the functionality of what this really is, because the functionality of the Halo Combat Evolved remake in Unreal 5 is for Halo Studios to get their footing with the engine, to just start making Halo content as soon as possible for people to play. Because if we're waiting for like a full-on Halo game experience, we're gonna have to wait like 2 or 3 more years. We don't have that kind of time. We need something right here, right now. And that's what Combat Evolved is trying to do right here. And so I'm saying that also with having like auto health regen, sprint, and things like that, it's definitely meant to try to bring players into whatever the future experience and the core mechanics are going to be for Halo moving forward. So there is more functionality to this remake, more than just trying to make an awesome experience. Like it's trying to lead you to what the future, I think, of Halo is going to be. Even though it didn't get a multiplayer reveal, I think that's kind of the big thing about it. They also mentioned about this as well, that also with co-op gameplay, that the more co-op players you have within a match, that more difficult enemies will spawn. Also, 9 extra weapons are being added into this. Things like the energy sword is going to be useful in this game. The battle rifle will be in it, and the needle rifle from Halo Reach, which I'm super looking forward to. It'd be very interesting how they implement it. For my time playing Silent Cartographer on here, it wasn't in the here at all. It was all just the Covenant weapons I got the chance to play with, and they all sounded roughly the same, roughly looked the same, some minor tweaks and changes, but roughly rather faithful to the original models and sounds of those weapons. So I'm all for it. It'd be cool to see, like, if you're going like the Pillar of Autumn, right? And you come across like a battle rifle, or even the original, dare I say, Halo Reach DMR. That would be kind of sweet. Maybe with original Bloom. I mean, that'd be kind of wild. I mean, it did seem like they did kind of add a little bit of a Bloom UI mechanic to this. Also, I noticed that when I was playing this, I tried to test this out a little bit about going out of bounds on this map, because if you guys are long-term Halo fans, you know why Silent Cartographer is a little bit special in that way. Because in the original Combat Evolved, there was a thing where you could really actually just like go super far out in the water here. Let me just show you an example here. Right here is the invisible barrier. You go insanely far out in the water, and for some reason in Combat Evolved, Master Chief can do just fine in water. Any other game, instant death. But when I tested this out while playing at the game, like, you can only go like just beyond the shore, and then you hit the invisible wall. Like, you're not meant to go outside. But I did find a part where I was able to fully submerge myself, and there really isn't like an underwater like visual filter or anything like that like we have with Combat Evolved. Again, this is a work in progress, so I can totally understand like not having that level of detail, or really not letting people out that far. I think that just might have been like a detail that might have been left out, because there's really nothing out there for you to check out. Some of the gameplay changes are definitely with the hunters. The one tap around the back kind of move isn't that viable, really a thing you can do much anymore. Now they have like a back plate which covers up like the sweet spot where you can get the one-shot kill on them from Combat Evolved, but now it's, I believe, like a 3-shot if you land them all perfectly. But also I found it a little bit harder to try to strafe them to get them to do that lunge attack, to get them to give up their back shot in a way. But this is something I think that hunters are going to be much more of an actual boss fight to the casual player for this mode, which is going to be amazing. But there is a significant issue that I played throughout the entirety of it, and a lot of people talked about this as well, is that when playing this, there were just micro stutters everywhere while playing this. Now, yes, it is a work in progress, and Halo Studios have a full year to try to, flesh out the game, to get that optimization running properly, but this is like an ongoing issue with almost every game that uses Unreal Engine 5, that trying to maintain that 60 frames per second is very difficult. A lot of times I was dipping into the 50s, even into the 40s when I was playing. Now, I didn't have an exact number, but I've experienced frame drops with Unreal 5 so many times, so I can visually tell. I'm like, yeah, this looks like 40 frames. And it was getting like kind of like that ghosting kind of like a visual effect whenever an Unreal Engine game is kind of struggling. It definitely needs a lot more polishing. Again, like, yeah, this is early work in progress stuff. Like, we're definitely going to see better improvements here, but this is also a vertical slice that Halo Studios worked a lot on months in advance to make it so that you have something playable at this HCS event. And for us to still struggle in performance-wise, even though they, at least some devs I talked to, felt like they got a solid 60 frames on the Xbox Series X, which for me on the 3080, I was looking at this going like, hopefully I could run this game. But from my experience of playing it, I don't think any hardware right now could optimally run this effectively without like frame gen and massive amounts of DLSS, because it definitely had like a bit of like that Unreal 5 kind of blurriness that you get with this kind of stuff as well. Now, it's like I said, it's a vertical slice. It's a work in progress. Frame drops are going to happen. It's not optimized. It's really just something like get people to get their hands on, get a chance to play as well. But, from my talks with some of the developers out there, they mentioned that this is a really great opportunity for them to get a chance to really learn Unreal Engine 5, get their hands in and start making stuff for this game, rather than trying to argue about what's the right kind of gameplay mechanics. You already got that worked out here with Combat Evolved. You just need to make it. But again, this is my biggest concern. Whenever I heard them switching over to Unreal Engine 5, I was like, guys, like, have we not seen what other studios have been struggling with when it comes to Unreal 5? Is that the performance always takes a hit, because every time you see them try to take advantage of Lumen and Nanite, which are much more like real-time calculations, which are always super taxing in a game engine rather than trying to, paint them in, which is something that you can do with Combat Evolved. There's no day-night cycle. You can paint in these textures. You can paint in these shadowings into the textures to give you that illusion of shadows happening within the game. But that's just not really how Unreal 5 works. It likes having everything kind of calculated in real time. That's why we saw like these pop-in textures, pop-in shadows, some blurriness when it came to some of the animations and characters. Again, this is something that I don't really fully expect to see kind of get fixed up within the year of the release. I'm expecting better optimization within the frame rate. I think at 60 frames running per second on Xbox Series X should be capable with this, because we've only had, just enough time to really get this up and running and playable. For the rest of the game, though, this really shows that like everything that we've seen so far is on this vertical slice of the game. So everything else around this needs a lot more work, a lot more time to get up and running properly. And that's my biggest concern with the entirety of this, is the Unreal 5 and the performance of it. But if we can get that 60 frames at running like 1440p, I'm happy. That would be something I'd be super excited about. I know that's their goal. I know the people at Halo Studios are super passionate about this. They want to make this a true jumping back in / off point for Halo. But yeah, micro stutters everywhere when it came to playing this. So that's the biggest concern, man. I hope they figure this out. Again, guys, we're going to cover more about Combat Evolved Remake, or Campaign Evolved, I should say, Remake, in the future for videos here, guys. So make sure to like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I'll catch you on the next one, people. Peace out.